So this was like a challenge for me in a lot of ways because I was thinking, what do I actually, talk to you, um, especially in a domain where it's evolving, it's ever changing, and I'm so sure that all of you are passionate about some sport here. So quickly, let me start with a quick check on how many people actually watch sport here. Any sport? All right, so we have a reasonable audience here to engage. Okay. How many people actually play sport? Okay, fantastic. That's great to see. That's great to see. Okay. How many of you actually do both? Okay, all right. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, that's about 65% of the crowd actually raised their hands that they do both, which is fantastic news. And I'm going to talk about how sports as a career is something that is, not just an option, but also it's something that, one can pursue across the board, not just in, playing, but also off the field. So there is on the field and there's going to be off the field. But before that, I just wanted to, touch base upon a little bit of myself. I've been born and brought up in Chennai, a typical Chennai boy. Grew up playing cricket. Cricket was everything that meant to me, and other sports as well. And the typical, not in a bad way, but the typical backbencher in school, where everything that I saw was only outside and nothing that I saw inside. So again, everything started with tennis ball cricket and everything. So sport was part of my life entirely. And of course, I've been blessed enough to live a dream on a daily basis. And I really mean it. I actually live a dream on a daily basis. So this obsession with sport just started to continue. I don't have a superlative story to share that, suddenly I woke up in a dream and I realized I have to be in sport and everything. It was just happened in a phase where, I started to become obsessed with the sport. Not that I was a great batsman or a bowler. Playing league cricket here in Chennai, it's very competitive, and ultimately I knew at some point I'm not going to make the cut. So ultimately I started to found ways and means of connecting with the sport, and that's when I tried to, it was this I'm talking about, about 20, 25 years ago. And I was sitting on the other side, like trying to find out what needs to be done, having the same fears and having the same sense of insecurity around, oh, how will my career go? What should I do? And all those things. So basically I'm empathizing the same thing, and I'm actually, saying that it was the same set of feelings that most of you would have around clarity and how to go about things and stuff. A lot of things changed for me when, along with trying to be associated with the sport in some way or the other, at some point the question pops up in every middle class household is that, is cricket going to, give you food or money or whatever it is? And that at that point of time, everyone needs to make a decision. So for me, I was searching for sport and education, but I never got sport and education anywhere. There was either sport or education. There was no one who was trying to tell me that sport and education can actually happen together. And then I took a path where, I like to narrate this story a lot. How many of you know the Ekalavya story? Okay. I found that in trying to relate to Ekalavya, there is a lot of power of visualization that can come through, and you can actually dare to dream and yet become excellent in what you want to do. So I think that, inspirations came from different angles, from different people. But more importantly, I decided to pursue a full-time MBA. But along with that, I did something that was completely off the block, which at that point of time, how many of you know ESPN Cricinfo? Okay, great. Okay. So Cricinfo of those days was a small startup, in a shady office building somewhere in RK Salai. So I used to finish B school and I used to work there as an intern. So I did this 14-hour gig every day for 2 years. but that set me up for my decision making, my clarity, and everything around how I wanted to enter sport. And I chose sports tech as the key thing around, combining everything. And ultimately, I was very, very clear to the extent of which I even said no to my placements and everything. So I wanted to, of course, pursue it, but I was very sure that, I need to, the concept of early mover, I didn't understand then, but I wanted to get into it no matter what. And I would say, ridiculously focused around how to do that. So that's where the journey began, and it's very important that along that, I found a great mentor. I found an exemplar who was already doing that in, Ramakrishnan, who was the first analyst of the team. So I had more than a goal, I had my aim set very well. So at least with the aim, you know that you can hit the target. With the goal, it's really big. So then I thought that, okay, this is going to be my path, and that's how it all started. Initially with, trying to map how sport works and what I've acquired as tools or knowledge or whatever it is. And then around the field of sports, where picked a particular area around data analysis, video analysis. All these things were upcoming things in the early 2000s. And I was fortunate enough to, work in that area where we had to build a lot of things to educate the market. So my journey started around coaching the coaches. So I used to coach the coaches on how to use a computer, how to use an analysis application, how to do that. By doing that, I became an expert myself, and that's how I started my journey with the Indian cricket team as an analyst. It was possibly, if at all we can say that whatever accomplishments that I've been able to be part of and blessed with, I think that journey kind of started to do that. But before that, I had put in quite a few, played different roles, but in the same domain. So I was selling, I was trying to educate people on the use of technology in sport. I was, of course, trying to work with, trying to develop applications as a domain expert, trying to build a company. There were so many things that was happening. But more importantly, I wanted to connect. It's not about me or what I did, but it's more about the journey as such. So when I got the invite around what Udyog meant, I was just trying to Google, and it meant exertion, perseverance, strenuous, and continued endeavor. I think all these things kind of should relate to every one of us in whatever we are doing currently. I think that the last word, continued endeavor, I think that stuck with me, and I wanted to just place a few things in front of you, saying that, especially when I'm actually talking to the future of the country, I'm sure that there's some amazing talent in every one of you that's sitting here, and I think that the best way to unlock is to actually, discover, explore, fail, and keep failing, and ultimately success is, you will become eligible for success. And this is how I feel, the way I have to reflect and possibly, even send across a message of how it worked for me. So just moving on from there, what made me pick this area is, I don't know, I was cognitive in the way I saw things. So I had a photographic memory. Even I remember we used to have this NIT TULEC during those days. So even in TULEC, I used to design electronic scorecards. So for some reason, I had this memory of, there is an alternate career that you can develop in cricket or in sport. Whether you can, at that point of time, the only way to enter was either you become a physio or a trainer or something like that. There were other areas where all, like taboo in a lot of ways. So I think that analysis in sport as a concept, I was not good at math, but I was good at understanding the game. I was good at reading the game, and I started to connect everything along the way. So how my progression developed is, like I said, I started with coaching the coaches. Then I became a skilled system operator. Then I became an analyst. Then I started to punch above my weight a little bit by being a sounding board for elite sportsmen and coaches. Ultimately, as you do that, how many of you know the 10,000 hour rule? The 10,000 hour rule? Okay, a couple of them. So Google that, which is very, very important. So in order to achieve some kind of craftsmanship, if you repeat something 10,000 times, you are on the way of mastering or building a craftsmanship around whatever you do. It could be breaking a stone with a hammer. It could be anything. But it's the 10,000 hour rule that mattered a lot, and that is what I saw in the best cricketers, the best high performers that I've worked with. I think that their ability to focus for large periods of times, and the second part was there is no fear of failure. In terms of, even if they fail, they will try to delay that. They will not make the same mistakes. Teachers tell you don't make the same mistake again and again. I will change this phrase for you to connect in a different way. Increase the intervals of doing the same mistakes again and again. So if you make a mistake once, just delay it by 3, 4, 5, or even 6 instances, and you can afford to make the same mistake again. And that's exactly how sport works. Sport is all about success and failure, as you know. Someone has to lose, someone has to win. There are good days, there are bad days. There are so many emotions that run. And I'm sure that you will relate to the same emotions that run in you while you're preparing for an exam, appearing for an exam. It is the same cycle. It's the same pressure. It's the same cycle. It doesn't matter at what level you're operating. We all emote the same way, right? So the biggest thing that I've learned from sport that I think will be of relevant to you is don't afraid to fail, because that will set you up for success. All these World Cup wins and everything is great, great accomplishments, feels good, but there were also series where we lost 4-0, lost really badly to oppositions, got battered. Sometimes my systems never worked. Sometimes bad planning led to our loss. So many mistakes, so many things. Everything is like iceberg. On the top, it looks very nice. Underneath, there is so much of effort that goes in. So my point is, don't be afraid to fail. It is very, very important that that ingredient is in you when you're trying to do anything for that matter. There was no, let's say, pathway to actually make a career in sport maybe a couple of decades ago, but whereas things are changing now, which we will talk about shortly. But there was no fact that, I couldn't actually come to terms with the fact that there is no IIMs or IITs for entering into sport. There is no finishing school. There is nothing. So there was a lot of things that you had to do on the job, like many pioneers, like some of the speakers who are here, many pioneers, the distinguished speakers are going to speak more. I think that a lot of that, especially in the early days where in such fields you had to learn on the job a lot. And I think that potentially made me even better, because I knew I started from bottom up, got my hands dirty, and all those. So don't be be prepared to get your hands dirty if you're really obsessed about something. Understand the root cause of why it's happening and so on. So you will benefit from that a lot. Just that I'm sure that you're in a very, very formative early years in your career. All it requires is a lot of people say hard work, focus, and everything. All it requires, again, I'm repeating, is to have the discovery mindset, have that exploratory mindset, and I'm sure that you'll all find your way connecting to something that you love doing at the end of the day. I think that one more thing that actually helped me, I promise about me, I'll end it here, is that I had a unique opportunity to build a startup. And by building startup, it also meant that your leadership skills got honed, your ability to manage people got honed. Of course, the pressure of building a business was there. So all those things actually helped, and I'm a pure product guy. So it actually helped me a lot in my career where when I was 24, 25, I got a chance to actually, get into a startup and actually run that business quite a bit. So a lot of things got connected, but the only one thing that was common is that for some reason I stuck to, not adamantly or not in a stubborn way, but in a very, very flexible way, I did see that sport can be especially off the field, you can develop a career if you have played the game, if you want to get connected with the game, and if you want to be in sport. And there are numerous examples today happening across the board, which we will talk about. I call every milestone like an Everest. So a lot of people climb Everest, but many people don't know how to come down, right? And they get lost while they're coming down. So it is very important that at every peak or every accomplishment or everything that you do, whether it's your exams or whatever it is important to understand that you have to climb a peak and then come down as well. There are two examples that I will share. One from possibly the greatest cricketer of our generation, Sachin Tendulkar. So he had two things to say always. The first thing that he always said was, if I need to bat, right, both my feet have to be on the ground. I cannot bat by being in the air. Am I right? You can't bat by you can't jump in the air and bat. No one does that. So which applies to anything that you do, is that if you're grounded, I think that that's the best quality that you can take along with you anywhere you go, in whatever situation you face. It'll help you a lot. So the best of the best, know that they have to be grounded. So if you have to bat, you have to be grounded. If you have to do anything else, you need to be grounded. And the second part is something that is a life lesson that I have felt, I have experienced, that I would love to share with you, is that how many people watch Test cricket here? Test cricket, wow. Everyone's saying Test cricket is dying. I don't think so. 5 days. Do you watch all the 5 days, all sessions, or not just highlights? Okay. Okay, perfect. How many of you watch ODI cricket? Let's put it this way. Okay, slightly lesser in number. How many of you watch T20 cricket? Okay, that's 100%. It's fine. No problem. So, clearly, right? Career. Okay, your career is like Test cricket. You have to first defend for long periods of time. You have to hone your skills. You have to make sure that in a cloudy conditions, you have to play the swinging ball really well. In a turning track, you have to find a way to use your feet and smother the spin. You have to keep bowling long spells to get someone out. It is a mental test of your character. It tests everything around you. So treat career as Test cricket. How someone will approach Test cricket, the amount of effort that is needed to play Test cricket. Okay, it is the toughest form of the game, right? It's played over 5 days. Of course, lot of pundits talk about it. Why everyone loves Test cricket? Virat Kohli says Test cricket is the pinnacle of everything. Every cricketer will say that, right? Like that for every sport, there is different things. So having said that, you cannot treat your career like T20 cricket. So a good Test batsman can become a very good T20 player. A good T20 player can never become a good Test batsman. I'm saying it from maybe 1 out of 10 could make it, but it's not the other way around always. So which means that simple logic, to put it in simplified terms, is get your foundations right. It doesn't matter if you're good at math, right? Be really good at math. Don't try to be a perfectionist, but be excellent at math. Now that math will help you connect to whatever field you choose, right? So get your foundations and your basics right. This is how sport is also played. This is how I feel career also should be looked at. You don't need to do anything out of the box initially. Get your foundation right. Understand the basics of whatever subject that you're getting in, and then you will start to find your way in terms of extrapolating it or kind of maximizing it. In a small way, this always keeps going in my mind, is that why is it always sport or education? Why cannot it be sport and education? And my new Everest that I've started to pursue, apart from the other things that I do, is I don't know how many people have heard about FC Madras. FC Madras is a residential youth football academy just outside Mahabalipuram, where talented footballers are scouted and they study, they play, and then they study. So in our normal school timetable, PT class is only one period, right? One period. Okay. So here studies is only one period. It's the other way around, right? So thank you, thank you. But the point here is that can we actually make a champion in life? Can champions be engineered? The answer is yes, definitely yes. It depends on how you balance everything. So the point I'm trying to make is that whether you want to play sport or whether you want to be connected with sport as a career off the field, there are multiple options. There is a business of sport, like there is a business of anything, like cinema, media, communication, finance, let's say manufacturing, everything that you are being exposed to currently. Sport is also a big ecosystem. Sport, there's a big business around sport, there's big opportunity around sport. And slowly, India, we as a country, so how many of you know that we are one of, or in fact, the youngest country in the world? How many of you know that? Okay, so our median age is 26, right? So which means that as a country also, we are moving from a sport watching to a sport playing country, which is happening, which I'm sure that it was very heartening to see that at least 70% of this crowd do both. And I encourage everyone to do that. Make sport as part of your lifestyle. It will help you massively. It'll be a transformatory thing, right? So any sport, pick any sport, even playing TT or even a game of chess makes a massive thing. So in the business of sport, there is marketing and sponsorship. There is, you can be a media manager. You can be in IPL event operations, ISL. Many leagues are coming up. You need people to run those events. So you can be in event operations. You need to be quick on your feet. You should be a good planner. You should know how to, kind of deal with people and so on. You can be in the broadcasting space. If you are really technical, love cameras, love to do all the kind of drone shots or, produce a game, you can be in broadcasting. Fantasy is another massive area where, a lot of data scientists, a lot of math related stuff is happening. A lot of algorithms are being built. So you can be in fantasy cricket, enabling a lot of fan engagement. You can be in finance and strategy, massive. Even, for example, how auctions work, for example, or for that matter, I need to build a budget for the World Cup. So there is so many areas where top good finance professionals, chartered accountants are all working in sport. So, but their base, their foundation was they went and finished their chartered accountancy and then chose sport. So there is no, which means that you don't need to look beyond your normal things to get your base right, right? And then there is advertising and social. Social media is massive in terms of whether it's acquiring followers or engaging the fans, or even for that matter, all the metrics that are built. There are so many SaaS platforms that are working in sport, providing services to sports organizations. So there is, at least I know of at least 50 who are doing that, right? Advertising, ad campaigns, people who love advertising and want to be connected with sports still have a chance to do that. Legal, sports law is coming as a big thing. There is so many contracts and so many legal things that happen for an event, before an event, and so on. Like even high-profile players, managing players, this talent management as a concept is growing. And even, for example, let me take FC Madras, right? So 23-acre campus, you need people to run the facility. So we have a general manager for facilities, right? So he's a civil engineer. He knows what it is. He ensures that the facility is running smooth. There are so many aspects to it. Then comes the fact where infrastructure, building stadiums, project planning around it. There are so many areas in sport that are mushrooming. Not just mushrooming, it's exploding actually. Another interesting subject, my direct domain, which is analytics and a little bit of AI. So AI is, again, I think it was Mr. Chandrasekhar who mentioned it, that it cannot replace anything. I also agree with him. I think that AI is an augmenter. So it is augmented intelligence, not artificial intelligence, right? So it can help you become smarter. It can help a coach become smarter, make better decisions. It can help you write an exam better. I'm sure ChatGPT is doing that at some point. So the point is that you can enter into a sports organization at different levels. There's so many analytics companies who are in sport, doing across sport. You can enter as a programmer, you can enter as a web developer, you can enter as a data engineer, you can enter as a data scientist, you can enter as a computer vision engineer, which is like the in thing today, like analyzing movements, finding trends and patterns, finding which logo is being sold a lot. So there is so much of scope around this. And ultimately, there's a lot of talk on UI UX. Ultimately, you see all the sports websites, the engagement that is happening. Infosys directly deals with running the Wimbledon, Australian Open and stuff. So there is everyone is creating a vertical where they're connecting use cases of sport, which I'm sure that by research, by just looking at it, you will get that information. And then moving on to the technical side, right? So you can enter as, if you've played the game, let's say, I'm a lot of players who we played for the state, now entering as a scout, people enter as an analyst, people enter as a sports medicine, physiotherapy as such. These are all careers that are blossoming like crazy. You can enter as a sports science expert. So Mr. Hariharan talked about science, right? So there is an art and there is a science for everything. And combining both is what makes sports so good. So in my career, I've come up with super game plans that could easily get, oppositions out. But ultimately, the bowler has to go and do that, and that is where the art and the science comes. I cannot ask someone who cannot bowl an outswing to come and bowl an in-swing, right? So I cannot ask Sachin Tendulkar to come and open the bowling, or Jasprit Bumrah to come and open the batting. So everyone is specific to their specialization, right? So that is how it evolves around the same. So even people are now finishing archaeology degrees and coming as a curator. So it is not that if you understand soil, if you understand how to make a wicket, it is something that you have a career around that. And ultimately, of course, if you have played sport at a slightly higher level, of course, you enter as a coach or even an umpire or a match referee, which all kind of then. So I just wanted to give you guys a larger snapshot of how it actually looks in terms of working in sport. And ultimately, if you're really passionate, then you will find a way to connect yourself to do something on a daily, constant, consistent basis. I know that there might be a few questions that I will take now, but just to summarize, I think that it's a massive privilege to talk in front of you. I hope that you connected some of the things that I said, and I'm sure that you'll use it in the right way. I wish you guys all the best, and I thank the organizers again to actually do such a event. It is really good, and apart from that, thank you very much. Jai Hind. Thank you.